Hey guys, this is Fernando doing another video for Modern Survivalist. First of all, sorry for not posting in my website for the last couple days, and also kind of being a little bit delayed with the videos. Just stuff, life. I'm married. I have a couple kids. Then there's quite a bit of work with my book that some of you guys already know about, the book on bugging out and relocating, which I'm gonna be publishing as soon as I'm happy with everything that I just don't want to leave out of it. Takes a lot of time. There's lots of research involved with a book of that type, and yeah, it's going great, but it takes time, and time sometimes is something that I don't have a lot of. I wrote a couple of articles for a couple of different magazines and a few interviews around, so that's also things that kind of take away of your time. And then, as I was saying before, family and with the kids and all that stuff, that it's just normal for all of us, right? So that's about it. This video, I want to talk a little bit about some of the products that are missing in Argentina, that have been missing for a while and are still missing, or are hard to find, or kind of very expensive as well. These are things that I already knew about because the same problem existed when I was living over there. But talking with family and friends, I see some of the same things being said, which I find to be interesting, and I suppose you guys would be interested as well. Back when I lived in Argentina, sugar, flour, oil, and milk were four of the products that generally you saw that were either missing, always a good indication of inflation, because they were usually pretty expensive for what they were. And what you usually would see in grocery stores and supermarkets was signs of a limit to how many of those you could buy, especially with sugar, oil, and flour, and milk as well. Every once in a while you would see that you could only buy 3 packages or bottles per family. Just a little sign along there in the shelves telling you that there was a rationizing of some sort. In the beginning of this year, I did a video on something that the government in Argentina had done, freezing prices. They had decided that there were going to be like 500 products, I think it was, 500 products of food products, of electric appliances, and random groceries that were going to be frozen. Prices sticking to that for a few months. Failed completely. I said it was going to be failing in the video when I first talked about this. It's completely stupid and goes against any logic for anyone that has an ounce of a brain to think that you can solve inflation by freezing prices. It actually has the opposite effect. People freak out when they see that the government is going to be freezing prices. What ended up happening was as predicted. Anyone could see that. Half of the products were not being frozen at all. The prices were going up. The other half don't really exist, or are basically impossible to find. Well, maybe not half, like 30% are impossible to find. You cannot find any of those products that are supposedly sticking to those prices. The other 20% no one cares about. Some of the things that were being frozen were things like beauty products, or the specific aftershave brands. Who cares about that when the problem is finding bread, milk, sugar, and oil at reasonable prices, or finding them at all? That's much more of a problem than finding your favorite aftershave brand, right? So that's what ended up happening. A little nasty trick that the Argentine government has always used is, they say, for example, eggs cost 50 cents an egg, for example, per egg, and in the numbers it looks that way. They say that, and they say that there's a specific brand in a specific presentation package that is sticking to that price. For example, it's a Crazy Egg brand in its 30 egg presentation package. The thing is that you will hardly find Crazy Egg brand at all. You will never find that particular 38 package. It's going to be 6 or 12 eggs. So it's an unrealistic thing. It's actually like a lie and kind of kidding people, saying that you can find milk, oil, and whatever at a stick price that they are claiming and using for their own inflation indexes, when there's really nowhere to be found that specific product. That's what generally happens. Others just the price just goes up, and you know what is it that you're going to be doing? Nothing. You just have to deal with it. And so there's really no reason to all this idea of freezing prices. It actually, I think that it actually looks worse than not doing anything at all. You know, if you're gonna be doing things the wrong way, then just don't do anything, and just freezing prices never works. So sugar, oil, flour, and milk, those are 4 of the products that are always kind of missing or harder to find, or there's always problems with it. Right now with La Serenísima, which is like the major, the only basically milk product a factory that produces the most milk related products, the most dairy products, is having problems, and there's quite a bit of there's like strikes from the inside of the company. One of the other reasons is that when something like this happens, when there's so much inflation, when inflation is rampant as it is in Argentina, the producers, the companies selling all this stuff, are always waiting for the price to go up, for the next spike in price. So, for example, if the government announces that there's going to be a freezing of prices, what they do is they don't supply any of it, or they supply very little and wait until that the prices go up again and then restock a little bit more. But with constant inflation, they're always waiting to sell at a higher price, or waiting for the next spike of prices. Another product that seems to be missing quite a bit, and this is something that may not be very familiar for most people outside of Latin America, is mate, yerba mate. Yerba mate is kind of like a tea that in the last few years it's been caught up a little bit more in US. You see some, which is funny, kind of like actors or famous celebrities drinking mate as if it was some sort of exotic herb or something like that. Mate is actually like a very, very basic staple in South America. Mate is what people that cannot afford milk usually drink. Like in the very poor places, in very poor shanty towns and settlements, people that cannot afford milk usually give their children mate cocido, which is like an indication of very, very poor standards of living. At the same time, mate is drank by everyone in South America because it's a very traditional drink. It's like, think of it like tea in England or something like that. Well, I think that more people drink mate in South America than English people actually drink tea. It's like a classic staple drink for anyone in South America. That is hard to find, extremely impossible to find these days in South America, and very expensive when you do find it. I was getting emails and people were telling me that, you know, there's no mate here anymore, and I actually went online and found that one of the things being said was that it's cheaper to buy yerba mate in London than buying it in Buenos Aires, and it was actually true. It was easier and cheaper to buy yerba mate in London in some of the grocery stores or even through eBay than buying it in Argentina, which is nuts and a clear indication of the madness going on over there. Then we have something that I've made reference before, is the matter of toilet paper. And it seems that, you know, it went missing in Venezuela. Venezuela is a huge mess. There's lack of food, there's lack of toilet paper, there's lack of pretty much everything. And the thing is that they basically destroy the country by going after anyone that produced anything, any half-serious company being attacked the way it was by the Venezuelan government. Everyone just left. Any serious company just saw that it was madness to do business in Venezuela. That has disastrous consequences. You end up like Cuba, where it's like a collapsed country. Now in Argentina, what's happening is that there is still toilet paper, but it is of the worst quality, the poorest quality of toilet paper, the one that looks almost like newspaper. That's the kind of toilet paper that is still found, but there seems to be problems finding the nicer one that's kind of like tissue paper, a little bit better. It seems that was imported as well, so there's problems finding quality or acceptable nice toilet paper. You only have the awful stuff. Last thing that it's really missing in Argentina, based on what people are telling me, is not that much of a product on its own, but it's still something that's obviously missing, and everyone that I talked with is still telling me that it's still a problem of safety, of security. The crime problem is still something that affects, this last couple of weeks I've talked with a few friends and family as well, and the same problem. The problem of crime is just, it's sad to see how it still affects people's lives, and what people are telling me is it's getting worse. How worse could it get? I knew it was bad already when I left. Basically, that was one of the reasons why we left, one of the most important reasons. And to think that it's even worse, a friend of mine was telling me, you're so lucky that you left. It's such a big mess now. And you see that they're still getting around as best as they can, still having a good life and all, in spite of the circumstances, but it's still something that's always there, always limiting your freedom in so many ways. When you always have to be worried about crime, about security, you always keep that in the back of your mind, and you're not going out. For example, younger people that maybe would like to go out at night, have fun and such, they always have to be careful about that. They cannot go to some places anymore. They don't go out at night anymore. Have dinner with friends. Nothing crazy, just what normal, regular people enjoys and takes for granted. Something that I always make reference to, take for granted in other places. It's not there. It's not available there. So security, sugar, flour, mate, toilet paper, oil, and milk are the 7 things that seem to be missing the most in Argentina. Then there's the problem of importations as well. One of the things that I've made reference to before is that the Argentine government thinks of the way in which a stupid group of people, of leftists, Leninist, socialist mentally minded people go about improving national industry is we're restricting importations. They think we restrict importations, and everything that is not getting imported anymore, we're gonna be replacing with national industry. This is like basic communist mentality. This is like stupid communist mentality. We're not importing things anymore. We're gonna be producing everything here. Doesn't work. Hasn't worked 50 years ago. It hasn't worked 1,000 years ago. It's not working, especially now. What happens is that, of course, anything that is imported is basically impossible to find or outrageously expensive. This reminds me of when I was still living in Argentina. I had to buy a new washing machine, and I went around the different stores, the big name stores, and the guys were telling me, we don't have anything. We only have this nationally produced brand, which I knew was crap. We only have this, and I was like, dude, you don't have anything in the store that's produced. You don't have like Gandhi or some other good washing machine brand or Whirlpool. No, it's just the Longvi stuff that is produced in Tierra del Fuego, which is actually like slapped together in Tierra del Fuego, but done so poorly that the product is of bad quality. So that's one of the things happening in Argentina for a few years now, and especially now. Electric appliances are outrageously expensive, and you have a huge problem finding them. Back when I was buying this washing machine, I visited several places, went back different days, following rumors. Maybe the salesperson was telling me, we're expected to get a few washing machines through customs. They were allowing us to get a container of washing machines that's stuck in customs next week. So I would go back, and that way, based on rumors and talking with the guy and keeping a good relationship and staying in touch, I finally landed a quality Candy washing machine. That was actually great. It worked very well for us for the time left, and we actually sold it very well. for when we left, because again, it was hard to find. It wasn't around anymore. Then there's the problem with parts, with machinery needed to produce stuff in the country. So if there's a national industry that uses machinery that a part breaks and they have to import it from abroad, they're not letting those guys get that through customs as well. It affects things as everything, movies that need special cameras, and they're trying to import those, but it gets stopped by the government. Even medical stuff, people that need prosthetics or special prosthetics to keep themselves alive, find themselves struggling with the government that's not allowing those to get through. So it really affects the national industry, and at the end of the day, it affects the economy and the quality of life. Finally, one of the things that I did mention again before, one of the things missing is toys. Surprisingly, toys are produced locally, but the ones that are produced locally are of awful quality, and there's nothing very, very nice in terms of nationally produced toys. Anything that is quality toys brought from US or from abroad for other places, it's in high demand in Argentina as well. When we left, one of the things that we were surprised to see is that many of the toys our kids had, we actually sold those, and when we left, we were able to buy new toys, or even more than those that they had already with that money abroad, because people were going nuts buying toys. And you may think, why would anyone do that with a country in such a dire condition? Why would anyone spend maybe $1,000 in toys? And it goes back to the psychology of it, how people, when things are awful or not awful, complicated or hard in general, like they are in Argentina, the idea of giving your child happiness with that toy that he sees on the internet or on TV, but it's not available locally, that makes your day. I mean, seeing the smile on your kid's face when you give him something like he wants. And I'm not talking here about spoiled, over the top things like I know happens all over the world. I'm talking about going to any toy store and finding just junk all over the place. And when you find something that it's of quality, it sure, you do notice the difference, and your kid does so as well. So yeah, toys, why not? I mean, I've seen how people go mad about them, how they buy them, and what difference it makes. So yeah, absolutely. Guys, that's been all for now. Remember to subscribe. Almost 10,000 subscribers, and that's great. Thanks for your constant support. And I'm fine, nothing happened, just a little bit running out of time to keep posting and doing videos. Folks, take care. Have a great day. See you in our next video.